It's quite hard to sometimes, wear many hats. And so I felt like my hat wearing ability was definitely enhanced.
Welcome to the Wellness Breakdown. I'm Rose Ferguson.
And I'm Eve Kalinik, and we are super excited that we are now YouTubing our podcast, which means that not only can you listen to it on an audio format, but you can also watch us on video. The podcast basically works with Rose and I setting challenges for each other based on specific wellness trends and fads that we know a lot of you guys are interested in, and that's kind of how the podcast came about, right?
If you have anything that you would like us to look into or investigate further, any new fads or crazy stuff you're trying, then let us know, because we love to hear from you.
And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Wellness Breakdown. We got a huge response from last week's podcast on calorie counting, which is not a big surprise, but you had quite a personal reaction from doing this challenge, Rose, even for 1 week, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It really, it knocked me off my axis, I'd say, just of starting to be super aware around what I was putting in my mouth. It is like a little worm that goes in your brain, and I just was like, God, it's really not a good thing. Having said that, I bounced back quite fast because I'm already not thinking about it. But it was interesting how quickly it tapped into that, oh, I can't eat that, shouldn't eat that, reading labels, worrying about the calorie values.
That's just 1 week of doing it. Like, imagine people have been doing this for years and years and years, and essentially been logging their food for, how long it might take you to get out of that. For you, it felt really freeing. But for a lot of people, they might almost feel a bit discombobulated by having this kind of like tool that they rely on so much. But anyway, moving on to this week's challenge. And I know what this is because it was a long one, but you guys have a listen to when Rose set me this challenge.
This week's challenge, it's a longer challenge, and you're going to actually not hate me for once. It's not a bad one. What I would like to investigate or have a look at is the world of nootropics, which is quite a new world in the world of nutraceuticals, I'd say. It is very much focused on focus and brain, cognition, and helping us to get the best out of our little brains. And I'd love you to do it and take some nootropics daily and see if there is any improvement in your mind, in your focus, in your cognition, in your energy, whatever. But I'd like you to take it for 2 weeks and see how you get on. I'm very happy for you to choose a nootropic brand of your liking. So what do you think?
I'm really excited about this one because who doesn't want to be like more cognitively enhanced, to be honest? So, and I have never really kind of committed to taking nootropics because obviously it is one of those things that I think people want, like, oh, how can I be more focused like tomorrow? It does need a bit of time for those chemical compounds and some of the, the herbal plants that are associated with this to cross that blood-brain barrier. So it does need a bit of time, as in taking them for some extended period of time. But I'm really excited about this. It is fairly new-ish, although I think a lot more people are becoming more aware of them now, and they seem to be popping up a lot in, various blog posts and even in some of the health food stores.
Well, what's interesting, I think, about the term nootropics, I think the terminology is new and the combinations are new, but actually we know that things like lion's mane mushrooms, which are in lots of them, are very useful. I remember as a child, fish was, like brain food because of the omega-3s.
The old wives' tale.
The old wives' tale, exactly. So, and omega-3s are very good for brain function because they're good for our neural pathways. It's not surprising that this is an area that has got some attention because we know that our focus is challenged because we have so many images in it going into our brain all the time. I know that my memory is shocking, so I'll be interested. I know that it's, you're right, you should be doing this for longer, but I want to see if it has an effect in a short period of time because that's what I'm interested in.
So I am starting the nootropics challenge, and I am day 1 of taking a supplement that contains some of these ingredients, herbs, and things like medicinal mushrooms that are supposedly going to have an effect on my cognitive prowess, as it were, and increase concentration and focus and mental agility. So I'm actually taking the Nuco one that has got things like lion's mane in it and a few other things. So I will continue on with this, give you an update in about a week and see if, I'm firing on all cylinders mentally. So I thought I'd do a bit of a recce in maybe one of the more generic health food stores to just see if they had anything on this kind of nootropics side of things. And it is quite niche, but even here is like a whole section focused on nutrition for the brain, focus factor and things like this. I mean, the supplements themselves, to be honest, looking at the ingredients, are not great, and that's why actually it does pay to do a bit of research. But I thought it was really, really interesting to just come and see, like, generically or more generally, whether this is something people are looking for, and it seems like it really is. So I've been taking the nootropics for 2 weeks and just chatted to Rose really and said, look, I think I need to take these for a bit longer to notice any real effects, because a couple of days in I was thinking, I definitely feel more cognitively enhanced here, but then realised that was massively a placebo. So I'm going to continue it on and see how I get on closer to 4 weeks, which should give more of an indication about whether or not it's actually having an impact. So I've completed my 4 weeks on the nootropics and I do feel definitely more focused. I feel like I've been more efficient, and maybe it needs a bit longer to fully kick in, but I do think it's something that I might continue for a bit longer anyway. So I do think that there is something in this nootropics business for sure.
You did 4 weeks on the nootropics instead of 2. Tell me how you feel. Have you noticed any difference?
I genuinely think that I have felt a difference. I do feel like I've got more concentration for sure and focus, and I just feel a bit more, just a bit more balanced, really. That's such a really vaguey term. I mean, I'm going to continue to take them, so that's a ringing endorsement if there was any. I don't honestly think that I notice a massive difference until about 2 to 3 weeks in. And that's because, as we mentioned when you set the challenge, that you do need to allow that time for these substances to cross that blood-brain barrier and to have kind of these effects. So, I think the longer kind of term protocol would probably reap more benefits, as it were.
Well, I did originally set it for 2 weeks, but you said to me that when we got to 2 weeks, you said you wanted to continue because you didn't feel like you'd been taking it long enough. So that's interesting that you felt a difference after 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, it's important because some people don't, it's it can feel like a bit of a woolly term, how do, nootropics, what does that mean? Cognitive enhancers, smart supplements. But actually, I think the misconception is people think it's going to have this direct effect. It's going to affect things like neurotransmitter functioning. So certain neurotransmitters that affect the way that we think and feel. But actually, it's not so much about that. These types of herbs and medicinal mushrooms like the lion's mane, it's more about improving blood supply to the brain and affecting things like your cell membrane health and things like that. So a lot of these will kind of stimulate things like phosphatidylcholine, which is really important for cellular health, and things like acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter that is at that kind of neural synapse. So it's not like a direct thing, and that's why it takes a bit of time for it kind of to build up. But there have been loads of studies on this now. Actually, when I dug into it a bit more, even related to things and by the way, we're not saying that this is a cure for something, but there was definitely some things around things like Alzheimer's and some of these compounds and plants and things like that. So you do have to get the right dosages though, with it, and that's why it's important to just dig a little bit deeper into the kind of supplements here, because there's quite a few, isn't there, out on the market that you can take. And to just clarify, the one that I did take, which for people watching on YouTube, but I'll just explain it for those listening on the audio, is this one, which is the Nutrafocus. We're not sponsored by them, by the way, it's just the one that I picked, which has got organic lion's mane mushroom, citicoline sodium, bacopa, I'm probably mispronouncing that actually, which is a type of plant, L-theanine, ginkgo biloba and rhodiola. So it's a blend of a few of them.
The combinations that are used are great, I think. I think they're really clever. I've looked at others too, but in this supplement in particular, they're great. As you say, there's something to help you support your choline. There's a couple of antioxidant mixtures in there, herbs. And then you've got the ginkgo, which is good for energy. Then you've got the rhodiola, which is good for stress. So all of those things, in theory, should help. Makes sense that they would help your focus and your brain capacity and your brain function. My memory is awful. I mean, really, really awful. It's terrible. My kids are always like, Mum, when did I first do this? I'm like, I don't know. I've got no idea. Did you notice any improvement in that area? For me,
I think this is where it's so individual, isn't it, Rose? Because I don't, touch wood, I mean, I don't really suffer from that. I think my memory is pretty good, so I probably wouldn't have noticed a difference there, but I can sometimes get easily distracted. Like many of us, I have multiple tabs in my brain going on at any one time. And I did feel like I was able to kind of compartmentalise that a little bit more. I felt like I could get tasks done quicker. So I think I felt more efficient rather than the memory side of things. But I'd love you to do it and see if you notice that difference.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually. I think that's a very good point. Perhaps I will try that and report back if I remember. But
just remember to take the bloody things.
What am I supposed to be? I'll be like, what am I supposed to be doing? I've totally forgot. Something I did wonder is, did it help your sleep? Because often when we get the brain, if your brain functions better, it can impact your sleep as well, because your rhythms are, I mean, that sounds very woolly, but, if your neurotransmitters are working more efficiently, then it can help your sleep at night. So I wondered if you had noticed that either.
I don't really suffer with my sleep, but I do know ginkgo is an antagonist to GABA, which is the body's major inhibitory neurotransmitter. So to be clear again, these are not going to work directly on neurotransmitter functioning. They're not going to help us make more serotonin or make more dopamine or GABA, but they can actually stimulate that production in a way. These are not panaceas for having a more brain focus either. We have to think about other things that we're doing, we can't ignore things like getting these things through our food and prioritizing our sleep routine and things like that. Interestingly as well, because sometimes I can have a tendency to get cold hands and feet, and I think it was the ginkgo, because that obviously stimulates blood flow and circulation, which is, part of these nootropics is to improve blood flow to the brain, and that's supposed to kind of help with the cognitive aspect of it too. I did notice that was better.
It sounds like it made quite a big difference to, as you say, your efficiency, and I'm interested that it helped your focus and helped you feel like you had more capacity to achieve the tasks you need to achieve.
Get shit done.
Get
basically.
shit done is what I'm trying to say.
When we're self-employed, Rose, and like you, we have different arms to our business, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it is for any person, frankly, it's quite hard to sometimes, wear many hats. And so I felt like my hat wearing ability was definitely enhanced. We're very happy that Ancient and Brave is back as our season sponsor. They have an incredible range of collagen supplements, MCT oil, and nootropic blends. As well as nourishing your skin, hair, and nails, collagen has been associated with whole body health benefits, which may include supporting joints and muscles to gut health.
Eve and I are both fans of supplementing collagen, but not all collagen is created equal. Ancient and Brave's is beautifully pure, highly absorbable, and clinically researched. Also, very easy to take as part of your everyday ritual, as it's also odourless and tasteless. Perfect added to your morning coffee or daily cacao.
Consistency is key when taking supplements, and to get you started, Ancient and Brave is offering 20% off your first 3 orders when you subscribe with the code WELLNESS20.
Ancient and Brave are passionate about sustainability. They are a B Corp and a member of the powerful global initiative 1% for the planet. So 1% of all sales go towards environmental causes that protect the planet. So buying their products means you're supporting the planet too.
I think we are just so bombarded with information, so anything we can do to kind of help our brain deal with that is only going to be a positive thing, really.
Well, yeah, the focus crisis is so real, and kids, I notice it in kids a lot, because they are on their phones, but we're all on screens all the time, but they are particularly, and they're fast moving, so they're scrolling, looking at YouTube, and the amount of input that's going into their brains 24 hours a day almost is unbelievable. So, things like meditation are really good for the brain.
Absolutely. That's going to trigger those same neural pathways. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that if you do have focus issues, then that would be a really fantastic thing to do as well, would be to start meditating even 10 minutes a day.
How's your meditation going, Rose?
Actually, Eve, it's not going fantastic.
Do as I say, not what I do.
But
I'm joking.
I tell you what, I do it, but I did it. I don't know what, you'd be so pleased with me. I was sitting in a restaurant and it was really hectic and I was waiting for someone and I was a bit overwhelmed by emails. And so I just put my phone down and I just listened to what I could hear. I looked at what I could see and just brought myself back into my body just to give myself some space and calm, and calm. Not that I wasn't like having a panic attack. I was just a bit like, oh my God, Rose, take a deep breath. Stop being in your head. Stop thinking about what you got to do, where you got to be.
Meditation is literally, a free nootropic, basically.
Yeah. Do you do it every day?
Yeah.
How long do
every
you
morning.
do it for?
10 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes longer. It depends on how much time I've got, but I do at least 10 minutes.
And
now.
do you use an app or do you just...
No.
Okay.
Just breathing exercises mostly and just dropping into it really. But it does, it takes a bit of practice because like I said, if you've got a really busy mind, it can feel quite challenging to start with. But I think the point being, and why I say that it's free, is that some people listening to this, especially with cost of living crisis, these nootropic supplements are not cheap. I'd say that out of all the supplements, they're quite expensive. And I think that's the major caveat that I would have with this, is that it is an investment there. Whereas and also, like I said, it's not a panacea, it's not a silver bullet. There's no point taking all these supplements and then not doing anything to bring yourself back into that kind of more, parasympathetic nervous system mode. And meditation doesn't cost anything, really.
Shall we have a look at some emails that we got through?
Yes. Hi, Eve and Rose. I grew up with my mother counting calories. We always had diet foods in the house, and I thought that was the best way of eating. Oh, God, actually, that sounds way too familiar, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. I've always struggled with my weight. Reading the back of the packet of crisps after I ate them used to spiral me into a depression. Oh. Yeah. When I turned 40, I began to re-educate myself about food, and it's the best thing. Oh, well, look, happy ending. Still a lot of unlearning, but I'm on the way. Love your podcast, Lynn. I think that's just quite a generational thing, isn't it, Rose? The 80s, like you talked about being the 80s Weight Watchers woman last week. Food shaming, it's just horrible, isn't it? But I'm pleased that she's obviously now had this ability to all the opportunity to re-educate herself, and she's not feeling like that, because we shouldn't have any blame or guilt or shame around our food choices at all, even packets of crisps, really it's important to kind of highlight that, because there is no bad or good food.
I have got another one here. Let's have a look. Hey, hi Eve and Rose. I really love listening to you both. The topics always seem to hit a chord with me, and I realise I'm not the only one who doesn't look at the back of a packet. And who knew calorie counting could actually cause you harm?
There's been a lot of people that have emailed off the back of this challenge and said how much of a kind of dysfunctional relationship calorie counting has built their food. And so I think it was a really, I know you hated it, every second of it, but it was a really good one to do.
Okay, so that's it for this week. Next week it's me and it's my turn. Oh my God, Eve, what's that face for?
I just have this picture in my head of you doing this challenge, and let's just say this episode is going to make some great video footage, Rose.
Oh, but I was so nice to you this week. Oh.
It's not going to be horrible. I think you're probably going to enjoy it. But you guys definitely don't want to miss it, that's for sure.
Oh my God.
So until then, remember, if you haven't already, please subscribe and don't forget to leave a comment below.
Have a fantastic week, everyone. I'm now terrified about my next challenge.
Oh no, it's fine. You're going to really love it. I promise. I promise, Rose.
All right. See you later, everyone. Have a great week.